this is our primary planer that we use. We have several planers in the space. This is going to be set up with a helical blade, which means it doesn't have, it's a lot quieter and it'll take off the material more accurately. You don't see that, and there's no really way of knowing that unless whoever runs the shop lets you know. There's several different adjustments here. We will loosen the set screw and lift the table up or down depending on how much material we want to take off of our piece. We don't want to take more than 1/16 of an inch off at a time when we're planing. It's really tempting to be like, oh, I need to take 1/2 an inch off of this material, so I'm going to set it to 1/8 of an inch or more each time. You will hear the machine bog down, especially if it's hardwood and the wider it is. This is only a 2x4, so it's not as critical. When you initially come to the machine to set it up, you'll look at the material. Does it have a bow in it? Is it, which direction is that bow? You want, hopefully it doesn't have a severe bow to it, but you want the bow to be facing down. So that it takes the top off until it planes down to where the top is straight and the bottom is bowed. Then you'll flip it and you'll send it through so that it takes down those high points on either side with a flat bottom. Now, if this is bowed, it's not severe. You'll sight your wood by looking down the edge to see that it twists this way or that way and know if it's straight and how much it needs to be true. This machine, you cannot put a piece of lumber any shorter than 12 inches. There's 11 inches from roller to roller. There's 2 feed rollers, one in the front, one in the back, and the blade is in between. If you put something under 11 inches, under 12 inches, it will disengage from the one roller before getting to the next, and it'll be stuck in there, and it'll shake, and then it'll rip it all apart, damage the machine, obviously damage the material. Nothing under 12 inches in this machine. Nothing wider than 15 inches will fit anyway, but nothing wider than 15 inches. We rarely do 15-inch material. So once I've determined which side that is the bowed side, I want to come to the front of this, and there's a little black bar in the front that you'll see. It's kind of our feeler gauge. I'll bring my material up until it hits that bar and I can pass under it. So I'm pulling the material in and out to see when is it going to squeeze down on that piece of material. And then it's kind of tight now, so I'll back it up a 1/2 turn. If I run this through and it doesn't cut anything, no big deal. But if it's super tight and tries to take off 1/4 of an inch at once, it will ruin the belts in the machine. It'll bog down. You'll have to turn it off. You'll have to back it out. And we don't want to have to do that. So make sure we're barely taking anything off. We'll send it through. It'll make a bunch of noise. If I have multiple pieces, if I have like 6 pieces of 2x4 this length and I need them all to be planed down the same size, I'll run them all through. I'll set them to the side so I know which ones I've run through. And then I'll make an adjustment. Generally a 1/2 turn will be about 1/16 of an inch. And if I do a 1/2 turn, then I can tighten the set screw back down so that it's not going to change. Run the 6 through. Once I have one side planed and flat, I'll switch to the other side. So if I need something that, if I start with a 1-inch piece of material and I need to get it to 3/4 of an inch, I want to make sure I take off one side and then leave enough material to take off the other side. This is why we take off small increments. It's easier on the machine. It doesn't make as much noise, and it'll be easier to get it dialed into what you want out of the machine. In order to turn it on, this is one where, like, I turned off the dust collector so you guys could hear me. It's going to produce a lot of dust. It's going to vacuum up that dust into the dust collector. So you do want to make sure the dust collector is working. we're only going to do one pass, maybe 2 passes, so it's not going to clog up the machine. But if you do a bunch of passes and the dust collector's not going, it'll jam it up and it won't really cut. In order to turn it on, there's a stop button with arrows on it. You twist the stop button in the direction of the arrows and it should pop out. If it's pressed in, it will generally light it looks like somebody broke this, so it's always popped out. So if it's not working, sometimes you just need to twist this and it'll pop out. There's also a key. This is a lockout tagout key. So if something's wrong with this, somebody can turn the power off, take the key. It's generally the tool room coordinator or myself. And so if it's not working, that could also be why. So all you have to do is ask the tool room coordinator or myself, why isn't the planer working, and we can help you. To start it, you'll press start. You'll introduce the material. The roller will take it away from you if you're doing it right. You don't need to shove it in here. If you're shoving it in, then you're either taking too much off or something is wrong with the machine. So it should just kind of take it away from you and cut it, and you'll walk around to the other side and you'll take it and bring it back to take your next cut and your next cut, right? Sometimes people will work in teams of 2. I get a bunch of stuff to plane, and Eddie has a bunch of stuff to plane. Then we'll plane, and he'll hand them to me, so we're staying on the same side. So this machine does get kind of backed up. I think we only have one operational now. Patrick used to have a second one available that we could roll outside. Looks like it's walked away. So be patient with this if you need it, but there is a lot of times when you'll want to mill down lumber to a specific size, and this is how you want to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit start. So if I want to take one side, if I want to do the other side, I will loosen this. I will do a half turn, and then we'll put it through again. So it's spitting a lot of dust and chips out this way because the dust collector is not on. The dust collector, anytime you start a piece of equipment, the dust collector will spool up and turn on. One last thing I want you to think about when you're operating this, the direction of the grain. So if you look at the piece of lumber, this is your end grain, this is your cross grain. If you feel the material, sometimes you can feel, it's like the hair on it, if you pet a dog or a cat, right, and you go against the grain, the hair stands up, right, and it's rough. But if you pet it with the grain, it's nice and smooth. That's how the dog or the cat likes to be pet. That's what you want to do with lumber. Some lumber changes direction. It's like figurative lumber and stuff. It's got figure and it's got like different designs and patterns because of the grain. You will never get it perfect. So the grain is going this direction right here, and it's going that direction right there, and then it's back to going this direction right here. So there's a rough patch there, that's fine. That's why we have sanders. But this will get your material down. This is a reclaimed piece of 2x4. It had screws in it, the screws have been removed, and we have a metal detector that we bring over this. And it says if there's any metal in it. If we put metal through here, it will chip the blades. And then if there's a chip in the blade, instead of it being flat, it'll have a bump. Because now the chip is there, it's not removing material where the chip is. So you'll have this little wavy, like little raised bump, and it's not good. Any questions about the planer?
When you run it through the first time, you're saying that like the bow should be like arcing up?
Up.
Okay.
And then the second time, the tips will be up.
Right.
Because if you put it down and you don't have that bow, if you didn't take care of that bow initially, then it'll rock. When you try to put it through, it'll just do this, and it cuts, and it'll just keep making it worse.
The grain should be facing like away from the direction of
Yes, so the
facing
way
the
it's coming in is it's coming in and chipping away.
Okay.
And if you're ever confused and you don't know,
So they'll be digging it up and peeling it up, I guess.
yeah,
in another direction.
so run it through. If it's rough, flip it around, run it through again. You make the slight adjustment, run it through again, and if it's smooth, then you know that's the way to go. Sometimes it's going to take you a while before you're like, I can tell, just by looking at it, I can walk up to a piece of lumber now and pretty much I can tell which direction the grain is going. I definitely can if I feel it, and but it takes a long time before that kind of just becomes second nature. Got it? Planer? How long does it have to be to go through here? 12 inches or more. 15 inches wide. So next thing we're going to go to is the joiner, which is essentially like a planer, but for the edge. All right, let's